Hey, it's Sergi, and welcome to the Safety Fellowship podcast. For safety talks, safety blogs, safety articles, safety learning and awareness, and all other safety subject matters, log on to safefellow.com. Come on, let's talk safety.
Welcome. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about active shooter and mass shooting, safety and precaution. Tragedy upon tragedy involving an active shooter or mass shooting seems the norm, the standard across the United States. And the gun control debate remains stagnant as ever. Finger pointing between the Democrats and the Republicans on whose fault it is not revising the gun law is ongoing as expected. Condolences and sympathy messages keep trending on social media like it is an achievement. While the branches of government are figuring out ways to reduce gun violence across the country, let us help ourselves stay safe amidst this present killing standard. These safety lessons is referenced from the United States of Homeland Security portal. What are the good practices for coping with an active shooter situation or a mass shooting? I'll give two practices. One, beware of your environment and any possible dangers. What do I mean to be aware of your environment and any possible dangers? Wherever you are, whatever vicinity you are, it is advisable to keep checking left and right to see what is out of norms, out of normal within that vicinity. Check for unattended baggages. If you find unattended baggages, it is advisable not to go near the items. Call for help. Regardless how small it might look, call for help. Call 911. Call the law enforcement agency. My second tip for good practices is take note of nearest exit in any facility you might find yourself. What I mean by that is wherever you go, whatever building you are, a movie theater, a religious center, a school, a restaurant, it is advisable to always take note of the exits. Make note of the entrance and the exit, way to exit. It is advisable to get another exit from the way you came in. Find another exit apart from the way you came in to that building. Before we go into the topic of safety against mass shooting and active shooter, let us go into the definitions of these two. Who is an active shooter? An active shooter is an individual actively killing or attempting to kill people in a populated area. I will repeat that again. An active shooter is an individual actively killing or attempting to kill people in a populated area. And what is mass shooting? There is no definite definitions for mass shooting. However, there is a conclusion on this, and it goes like this. Mass shooting, such as multiple firearms and homicide incidents involving 4 or more victims at one or more locations close to one another. Let me repeat that again. Mass shooting, such as multiple firearms and homicide incidents involving 4 or more victims at one or more locations close to one another. So, how can we protect ourselves from active shooters and mass shootings? There is 3 safety tactics involved in these. There's an acronym for it as well. The acronyms are EHF. Evacuate, hide, fight. Evacuate, hide, fight. Number one, evacuate. It is advisable to evacuate the premise during an active shooter. However, be sure to have an escape route and plan in mind. Don't just go out blinded without having a plan already set up. During your evacuation, regardless of whoever agrees to follow you or not, take the steps to evacuate. Don't wait on majority of people to follow you before you leave the premise. Leave as soon as possible. And during your evacuation, it is advisable not to start looking for your belongings. Leave your items. It is advisable to, if you could help others while doing this, look for others to evacuate with you. Prevent individuals from entering an area where the active shooter may be. Number two, tactics is hide. You remember I said it's EHF. Evacuate, hide, and fight. So number two is hide. Hide out if evacuation is not possible. Find a place to where the active shooter is less likely to see you. Hide out if evacuation is not possible. If you cannot evacuate, if you cannot leave the premise, the building, hide. Find a place where the active shooter is less likely to see you. Don't be in the shooter's view. Get into a room, lock the door, and behind the door, if you could find a big object, place it behind the door to secure the door locked. However, if the active shooter is nearby where you are hiding, lock the door, silence all your phone and your pager. Turn off any source of noise, like a radio, a television. Turn it off. Hide behind a large item, such as like a cabinet, a desk, and remain quiet. When all this is safe for you, it is advisable to call 911 for help. However, if you sense an active shooter is within you, do not make attempts to call. Save yourself first. And the number 3 tips is fight. You remember we said is what? EHF. Evacuate, hide, and fight. And the third one is fight. Take action against the active shooter as a last resort, and only when your life is in imminent danger. You only have to take action against the active shooter. This should be your last resort, and only when your life is being threatened by the active shooter. You could incapacitate the active shooter by being aggressive towards them, throwing things, weapons towards the shooter, like yelling as well. Put them off guard. However, when you're doing all this, you have to commit to your action. These 3 safety tactics should help you during this time of active shooting or mass shooting before the law enforcement came through. Remain calm and wait for the law enforcement to arrive on the scene. And when the law enforcement officers arrive on the scene, follow their directions. Again, I'll give the 3 safety tactics that could keep you alive during active shooting and mass shooting. 1 is called evacuate. Leave the building, the premise, site as soon as possible. Then number 2 is to hide. Hide out. If you cannot evacuate, hide out. Find a place to lock the door. Turn off every noise-making item. Your phone, your TV, radio, whatever. Then the last option is to fight. Remain calm. Wait for the law enforcement agency to come over. I believe with these safety tips, your life will be safe. Thank you for listening. My name is Soji. Bye.
For safety talks, safety blogs, safety articles, safety learning and awareness, and all other safety subject matters, log on to safefellow.com. Come on, let's talk safety.